Welcome to the channel, people. I thought today let's start this video off by trying something new, and I grabbed these stains at Ollie's. So I thought let's use my typical when it's winter out and I want to color my palettes and dump them all in a tin. Usually I'll use plaid acrylic paints. I thought let's use these beautiful stain colors, this blue and this beautiful sun bleach, and let's pour them in the tins, move everything around, see how this works out. I know some people do stain their tumbling blocks individually, before they start gluing their pieces together. Usually I'll paint my tumbling blocks after. I have always felt like that was the easier technique. I've never tried this before, so I thought let's give this a go, and I really love the stain. However, everything was going good until it wasn't. All right, here's my situation. This is so much harder than I thought. Those of you that stain these like individually, hats off to you. This is not my thing. I will never do this again, because even after I pulled them from here and I'm trying to dry them off, I still gotta wipe them. They're getting blotchy spots. However, I do really like the color that they're turning out, but this is a lot of work, and I haven't even started on the sun bleach ones yet. Carry on with the video. The main idea for this video was to dupe my old palette and tumbling block builds for fall inspirations, but since I had my issues with that stain, I thought no time like the present for a new build, and it's going to be a tumbling block one, plus some dog hair. In case you're not familiar with me, I use Titebond wood glue and Surebond hot glue for the bonds for all these projects. You use whatever makes you feel fuzzy inside. This makes me feel fuzzy inside. To start with these, I put 2 blocks on the end vertically and 3 blocks horizontally, and then 5 blocks vertically, and then 3 blocks horizontally, and then 2 blocks vertically. So my base will look like this for our raised spiral planter. If you want to, have yours all going the same way, feel free. I just, wanted to switch it up, and make it look a little bit different once I spray painted it, because we will be spray painting this. Nobody is going to be staining this joint, okay? Now, onto the spiralness. There's no right or wrong way to go about this. Just make sure that you are turning as you go, ever so gently. I used 13 of these blocks to create this partial spiral. It's not a full 360. It's more like a 180, I think. And you're going to need 2. You'll need 2 of these, and you're going to need your base to put them on, and you're going to need a friend, which is going to be the top that we're going to put on, which I just did the same exact thing. At this point, how you want to do your spiral is really completely up to you. If you want to do a complete 360 spiral, have it go on there, feel free. As you can see, I'm kind of just moving them around. I wasn't sure where I want it to go, but I wanted you to see the freedom in moving it. You can have them closer, further, backwards, frontwards. It really doesn't matter. It's whatever you like the way the look is for this, because once you put the top on, you have your raised planner, basically, the outline of it already. And then we're just going to apply some pressure. It's going to look like this. You're going to let this sit for about 2 to 3 hours so that wood glue gets a little set in, and then start putting on your bottom for your, the planter aspect at the top. For the bottom layer of this, I used hot glue and wood glue so that way they stayed in place, and I used 5 tumbling blocks to accomplish this. So that way, it was all, because I'm not layering them right on top of one another. I'm going to stagger them like bricks. The second layer, I am not using hot glue because I want to be able to move them as I'm sliding in my pieces. So see it just going ever so slightly. If you don't put 10 pounds of glue on here, it's going to be fine. If you're an over gluer, you might struggle a little bit. So be light on the glue. It'll move back and forth just a smidge, but you'll be able to manipulate them and it will be fine, because we also are going to have to cut some tumbling blocks. we're gonna have to smoosh them in there, and the middle, since we are kind of staggering these like bricks, use a little, I just used my box with a little baby hacksaw and it got the job done. On the sides, I'm just layering them on, top of one another. I was being lazy. You don't have to. You could do this all the way around, but I'm just kind of putting them on top of one another on the sides, because I'm being lazy. That's how I'm rolling with it. Now, I just spray painted this khaki color, and you can use a piece of Velcro or a magnet to be able to create the piece in the center, so you can switch this out and use it all year long. This gem is one of my most loved pieces of recent creations. I took these beautiful stained, they turned out good. I can't tell the difference with the sun bleach. Can you? I can't tell. What a waste of time. Anyhow, also, I do want to mention that the original builds with the original, inspiration is in the description box. I linked the videos down there. I am going into detail longer with the builds in those videos for these items. And some of them I just added stands onto. You'll see, we'll get to those. Now, I picked this. If you're following me in my browsing videos, I browsed Christmas tree shops recently and picked up a bunch of napkins. And we're going to decoupage this onto this palette. And if you're not familiar with me, I decoupage almost everything I could possibly decoupage. And yes, you know what? This is a Crafter Square glue bottle. I put Mod Podge in it, and I have one that has wood glue in it. I have carpal tunnel, and this is actually easy on my hands. It's a little bottle. It squeezes out really nicely. And, listen, it's working for me. I love it. But here's my new hack. If you're using napkins, because again, I decoupage everything, they're so easy to tear. I have discovered using a sponge, and you can press these down gently, gently, gently. They don't have to be any particular sponge. I think I got these from Dollar Tree or Walmart's, like cheap 99 cent. I don't know. They're really cheap. You just press them all around. You let this dry, and it gets in those little creases so nicely. Your X-Acto knife is just able to just slide right on down it and cut it all off. And make sure that your piece is dry before you do this, because your napkin will pull. Now, for paper, it's a little bit different. You want to use something a little bit harder to kind of scrape it along. Put your wood glue and your hot glue on the back of your palette, and then attach it to your little square. Well, it's a diamond, really. It is a square, but we're using it as a diamond. To add some blue and kind of bring out the darker accents of the napkin, I'm just dry brushing. You don't have to do this, but it's an idea if your napkin doesn't necessarily match your background or whatever you're decoupaging. I added some laser cutouts, and that's it for this one. This piece was very loved in its original form, and again, video is linked in the description box. You're going to need 4 of these smaller palettes, some popsicle sticks, whatever size makes you fuzzy inside, and whatever you use to cut your popsicle sticks. These cutters are actually metal shears I got from Hobby Lobby. They're like 12, 13, 14 bucks. I like using them. Once you arrange your palettes, going the way they're going, you're going to flip them upside down and then attach your popsicle sticks on the thickest part in the center. If you want to add extra, do it. I'm not going to hold you back. Take your beads. You'll need 4 of them. Glue them with your wood glue and your hot glue to all 4 corners so you have your little riser, and then let this dry again for 24 hours. If you've done it correctly, it should look like this. And then I just, instead of I was not using that stain, okay? So I spray painted this navy. I'm going to take some of this metal lace I picked up from Hobby Lobby, and then we're going to attach it to each one of, well, we're going to attach it to the whole thing. But I put hot glue in the center and around the edges. Feel free to use your E6000 and your Gorilla Glue too. I'm taking a mirror from Dollar Tree. I did not glue this down, so you could interchange it all year long. To start these little pumpkin decor pieces, I'm going to show you just how to create little stands. It's something simple. Just glue some tumbling blocks together, and we're going to create 3 stands, one for each piece. One of these pieces will require 6 tumbling blocks, one needs 10, and the other one needs 7. You'll need a long palette, a small palette, and then a long palette so it stands up. This is the base for the ideas. We're going to start with the tall one first, and we're going to cut the tips off. You can use a miter box if you want. I'm just going to use my, sheer willpower and clip the sides off with my metal shears. Come off fairly easy enough. You use what you want to use. Another napkin from the Christmas tree shops, and I peeling off all the sneaky layers, adding our Mod Podge on here, and we're going to again use our sponge and smoosh and press it all around the piece. Let it dry, of course. I know it's like I go from one to the next, but I let them dry before I do this. And in case you're wondering, it usually takes about an hour for them to completely dry enough that I feel fuzzy enough to come back with this X-Acto knife and not pull my napkin. I'm using a piece of sandpaper to get the edges off. You can still use the X-Acto knife if you want. It's a little time consuming. I'm using a 400 grit. The smaller the grit, the more it will rough up your edges. So that's up to you what size grit you want to use. Lower is rougher, We're going to take our base that has 6 pieces and glue. I also painted it the khaki color that you've seen, and then we're going to apply a stem for this, and I'm using a tumbling block and just painting it. I think it's the moss green color. You can paint it whatever color you want. I'm using moss green, I think, and for whatever reason I thought this was going to be the best way to attach that stem. I don't like that. I corrected the problem and then added some florals and lace for like a shabby chic kind of feel. You'll have to let me know what you think of this one. This was one of my particular favorites last year. I wanted to share it and add a stand. We're going to take some washi tape, some fall color inspired washi tape, and we're going to just tape them on the palette. It's that simple. That's probably why I like it. It literally took me like 3 minutes to accomplish this, except for trimming that stem. I had Tata sweat coming down. It was so hot out in that patio, just sawing that stem on. Anyhow, I'm sure y'all don't care about my Tata sweat anyhow. All right, figure out how you want to lay your pattern on with your washi tape, and we're going to need 7, the little stand that we use, 7 for this little stand. And then I'm using a tea rose paint by Plaid for the base, and yeah, I started out with these. It was not working and then I had to go out in the patio. It was like 100 and something. The humidity was so bad. I know y'all care about my weather issues because anyhow, paint your stem whatever color makes you fuzzy inside. Do go over it with your Mod Podge to make sure they're not going anywhere, and let me know what you think of this one. This is my favorite project. I love this one. This paper came from Hobby Lobby, and I cut it down to be able to rip it all around. The palettes turned out beautiful, by the way, out of the stain, and between the tumbler blocks and the palettes, like, I prefer the way the palettes came out, and they came out and dried quickly compared to the tumbler blocks. They took longer. I don't know what the problem was. Anyhow, I ripped the paper in the shape of a pumpkin, and I am going to cut them instead of gluing it and then slicing it with the X-Acto knife. That is a pain in the bootay. You don't want to do that. I mean, you can do it. Listen, I'm not going to judge the way you're crafting. I'm trying to get through this as quick and easy as possible and have something cute, and this is how I'm doing it. So I cut it so that way it continue to look like a pumpkin throughout the piece, you know, our little dip in the top, and then put our Mod Podge on each individual, and then went over the paper once I got it on each slice of the palette. Next, we're going to paint our base, and this is a little custom, you know, color. I just took some of this with the white Waverly chalk paint and mixed it together to get a very pale pastel green. I love it. It's beautiful. And in case you're wondering why am I doing this, it's because I did not want to mess up the stain, so I'm painting it, you know, like that, and then gluing it. These little birch wood pieces I got from Hobby Lobby. The laser cutouts are from Amazon. You can just type in an Amazon laser leaf cutouts. They'll probably pop up. I think they're like $5.99. This, I hate this stuff. Like, seriously, this is where I'm gonna whine. And those of you who don't like to hear me whine, it's happening, okay? I hate this stuff. I get it, like, and I can't do a finger bow. I do try, you know, but at this point with this, I almost cut off my circulation on my finger. Like, I wrapped it way too tight and I couldn't get it off. You can see, like, it's turning blue or purple. Like, it hurt. It was the things I do for YouTube. Anyhow, I finally get it off and then cut the edges and glue everything together on here using some hot glue. You'll have to let me know, is this your favorite one too? Because I just absolutely fell in love with this piece. All right, people, we have made it to the last one. And this is one of my favorite DIYs to do with these particular palettes. And I wanted to create a base. I have 6 tumbling blocks here. Use 7. If you're going to do this, use 7. I don't feel fuzzy inside with the 6 and wasn't thinking when I did it. But so do it right if you're going to recreate this. 7, even 8, put 8 on there. So it's 7 or 8. Don't use 6. Anyhow, attach your palette, you know, paint your palette, paint your base, whatever colors make you feel fuzzy inside, and then you're just going to attach them, let it dry for about 30 minutes, and then continue working on it. This is some burlap fabric I picked up from Walmart, and I'm just going to trim the edges because I want to have it frayed a little bit. So I'm just pulling off a couple pieces on the edges to give it that, you know, frayed, separated, messy kind of look. And honestly, once I attach the leaves on here, you don't even really see it, but in my mind, I know I did it. I took these Dollar Tree leaves and I just painted them with some acrylic paints, or they were my blends, so they had Waverly chalk paint in them too. Don't let me start lying to y'all. I waited for them to dry and then I attached them to the palette. Then I thought, let's take our little strips of burlap and create a little bow. No, I wasn't trying to tie my finger back up again, so I just kind of pieced this bow together. It was fabulous. Oh, can you tell by the sarcasm? It worked, okay? It worked. It did what it needed to do. Once I was all done gluing this Bama down, I then added some little florals to the center, which come in a pack I picked up from Walmart, and that was it for this one. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, people. I hope you got some learning and some entertainment out of these fall-inspired palette and tumbling block DIYs. Y'all know I love working with Dollar Tree's wood items. Anyhow, let me know in the comments below which one is your favorite. Until next time, bye!